Okay, this is just a quick recap on using our knowledge from linear relations about slope and y-intercept to graph lines, as well as to use our opposite operations to rearrange lines, okay? So we're going to start with this first one here, y equals 2x minus 4. Hopefully you remember from before that means the slope is 2. That really means 2 over 1. Okay, don't forget that. And the y-intercept, the initial value, is negative 4. Okay, so there are 3 steps to graphing a line. First step is to plot the point or the y-intercept that is given. So in this case, since we're going from the equation, it's the y-intercept, so we're going to plot that at negative 4. Very important to set up your grid. Make sure you do label it. Use a scale of 1 to 1 here, meaning every box is 1 when you're graphing these, because you don't want to get confused at all. Okay, so step 1, plot the y-intercept. Step 2, we're going to use the slope to rise and run from that point that we just plotted. Okay, and this is a positive slope, so we know that this graph should go up and to the right. So what I would do here is from this point at negative 4, we're going to rise 2, 1, 2, and we're going to run 1. And I usually do it a bunch of times. I always run to the right. So I'm going to rise 2, run 1. Rise 2, run 1. And then the third step, once you've used your slope to create your rise and your run, is just draw a line, extend it past your points, and put arrows on it. Okay, and hopefully you recall that process just a little bit from your class. Let's try another one. Here's the equation right here. Hopefully you can pull out from that the slope is negative 3 over 4, and the y-intercept, the initial value, is 3. Okay, step 1, plot the y-intercept of 3. Okay, step 2, we're going to rise and we're going to run, except this one is negative. So instead of rising, I would hope that it would make sense to you that we're going to fall 3 instead. So I always run to the right. So I'm going to use that negative to tell me instead to go down. So from my point, I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to run 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this one, I can't actually fit to do it again, but it would go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, it would be somewhere over there. Okay, now you could go the other way as well. You could go from going back to the y-intercept. I'll just do this in yellow. Okay, you could go 1, 2, 3 up, and you could go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. So I don't always recommend doing that, but if you run into a situation in a puzzle or something like that where you have to, then do that. But in general, I always run to the right, and I just make sure that if it's a positive line, I'm going up. If it's a negative line, I'm going down instead. Okay. And third step, extend and put arrows on it. So you're going to need to practice that process. This is a really, really, really important thing right at the beginning of grade 10 math for you. Okay, our next ones, we're just going to do a couple of those special lines. Hopefully you recall them. Okay, so this one, y equals 3. That one could be written as y equals 0x plus 3. So hopefully that makes sense to you. That one would tell us then that the slope is 0 and the y-intercept is 3. Meaning, using my 3 steps, I would plot the y-intercept. Now I'm going to graph a slope of 0, right? And hopefully that makes sense to you that a slope of 0 is just a horizontal line. Okay, so these special equations, y equals 3, y equals any number, are just horizontal lines. So really you can just go to the y value of 3 and you can draw a horizontal line. Now, quite similarly, but a little more weird, we can't relate these ones to y equals mx plus b at all. X equals negative 4. Doesn't sound like y equals mx plus b. It's just weird. Okay, it's how you basically remember them, but it's the same idea. Remember, these are our ones where our slope is undefined. Okay, in other words, these are vertical lines. Same concept as horizontal lines, just go to negative 4. Go to x equals negative 4 and draw a vertical line. Okay, so those are our special lines. Hopefully you can remember those ones. Those two sort of stand out. As soon as you see really simple equations like that, you just need to know that they're the horizontal and vertical lines. Okay, a couple more. I'm going to make them a little bit more complicated just to combine two ideas. Now, you'll notice this one is not in y equals mx plus b form. This one is actually in ax plus by plus c equals 0, which is called standard form. The name is not so important right now. The most important thing is to make sure that you can use your opposite operations to rewrite it into y equals mx plus b form so that then you can graph the line. Okay, so let's take it. I'm going to write it over here. We want it to be y equals, right? Because then it's in y equals mx plus b form. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate the 3y. Okay, so that means I need to move the other terms to the other side. So the 3y is going to stay on the left. Now it's a positive or an add 6x on the left, so when it moves to the right, it's going to become negative. And the subtract 15, when it moves to the right, it's going to become add or positive. Okay, so hopefully that key step makes sense. Now I want to get rid of this 3. It's being multiplied by the y, so we're going to divide it to the other side, meaning we're going to take both terms and we're going to divide them by 3. Okay, and then you just have to do some simplifying here. So negative 6x over 3 is negative 2x, and positive 15 divided by 3 is plus 5. Okay, so here's our equation. Y equals negative 2x plus 5. And again, hopefully you can see from that that the slope is negative 2 over 1, don't forget, and the y-intercept is 5. So let's go ahead and graph that. 3 steps. Plot the y-intercept first at positive 5. Then our slope is negative 2 over 1. So we're going to go down 2 from that point. And to the right, 1. Down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. I'm going to join that up, extend, and put arrows on it. Okay, so that's sort of combining it all into one process, which is what you really, really want to master. Okay, let's try another one. The best thing you could do right here is take my example, pause the video, and see if you can do that one all by yourself. Okay, here we go. 4x minus y minus 6 equals 0. We're going to rearrange it so that the y is alone on the left. Okay, so we're going to start by isolating this y term right here. So we have negative y equals, our 4x is going to move to the right, so it's going to become the opposite, negative 4x or subtract 4x, and our negative 6 is going to move to the right, it's going to become positive 6. Now, we do still have a coefficient in front here. We do have this negative 1 that we want to get rid of. So same idea. We're going to divide both sides by negative 1. We're going to take negative 4x divided by negative 1 and plus 6 divided by negative 1. And then we just have to do some simplifying here. We have negative 4x divided by negative 1 is positive 4x. And positive 6 divided by negative 1 is negative 6. So there's our equation in y equals mx plus b form. Again, hopefully you can see that m is 4 over 1 for graphing, and b is negative 6. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph. Start with your y-intercept, plot negative 6. Just might need to do a little bit of counting there. And then we are going to rise 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and run 1 to the right. Rise 4, and run 1 to the right. Same thing, last step, use a ruler, join it up, extend, arrows on either end, that line continues on forever. Okay, please work hard at practicing this concept and let me know if you need help with this. Thanks.